We got another pole position repair. So this one initially was powering up to static garbage. That's usually in this section here around the battery. Things get damaged. You can see there's a couple of, there's an extra trace right there. There's this red one right here. So that's real typical stuff, and a lot of times this 161 gets torn up, and so does that 74 right there. And this socket, and somehow too that pick, gal, pal, whichever, I guess it's a pal. It goes bad. It gets internally damaged and goes bad. So usually what I'll do is I'll replace that socket. I pull that and test it, socket it if it's good. I'll replace the socket on the RAM. I'll replace that Z80. Well, it's not really a Z80, but that CPU socket. And then typically from there, I might have to rebuild maybe the battery section, but usually it'll come up. And this one was not coming up. This ended up being a chore. So I started going further out, replaced that socket, that socket, that socket, and that socket. Thought I had it for sure. Nope. Came over here, started messing with these things. Noticed that this is the third CPU on this board. Main CPU here, second CPU, third CPU. That CPU was not activating. This one was, but it wasn't doing anything. It had no data, nothing was happening. So I started probing these 373s here, and they both looked okay. So I didn't think anything of it. Replaced that socket, that socket, that socket, that socket, that socket, and that socket. And then all of a sudden I started having activity here. So just going into it a little bit further, I pulled that 373 out and tested it, and sure enough it was bad. Even though on the board it looked like it was okay, it was not okay. And that got us up to the game. And then when I got the game on, I had all sounds except for the engine sound. And that starts here with these two EEPROMs. This part of the board has some functions that drive the engine sound. And then it comes down here and gets mixed and hits these op amps and goes out to the amplifier. So it was up here, I think, it was this 97 right there was bad. It wasn't enabling something. It wasn't enabling the other 97, I believe, which turns on the 161, which creates the engine noise. So I'll credit it real quick.
Computer qualified.
I don't have a steering wheel hooked up, so I can't exactly steer. I've got this little thing here I made so you could see. The steering does work. And I'll shift into high gear, and that works too. And I'll let it crash. You hear the explosion. My figures missed the sign. There it goes. All right, that's it. It's all fixed.